I didn't watch much TV this weekend, and I had missed both episodes of Up with Chris, my favorite program on television, news program. And generally, as you know, I watch it generally I watch it on the internet. And after the fact, they post most of the show. And so I was checking my email. I sign up to a lot of right-wing crazies' email lists. And I saw this from Newsbusters, or I guess this actually came from teaparty.com. And via teaparty.com, they had posted a Newsbusters thing. And little did I know, usually I see these things and this is an outlier. These people aren't so ridiculous as to make a story out of this, but apparently they were successful. So Chris Hayes on Sunday, talking about Memorial Day, had just finished a segment in the segment prior with an interview of a soldier killed in the so-called War on Terror. He talked about a speech that Joe Biden gave. He interviewed a casualty assistance officer whose job it is to tell parents that, or I guess wives and children, that they've lost a loved one. Since 9/11, in our various wars, we have lost little over 6,000 U.S. military personnel. The numbers of injured in the tens of thousands, 30, 40,000, probably more, depending on whose numbers you use. So Chris Hayes came back from break, and this is the segment. This is how he started the segment.
We're thinking today and observing Memorial Day that'll be happening tomorrow. I just talked with Lieutenant Colonel Steve Burke, who was a casualty officer with the Marines and had to tell people. And I think it's interesting because it is, I think, very difficult to talk about the war dead and the fallen without invoking valor, without invoking the words heroes. Why do I feel so comfortable about the word hero? I feel uncomfortable about the word hero because it seems to me that it is so rhetorically proximate to justifications for more war. And I don't want to obviously desecrate or disrespect the memory of anyone that's fallen, and obviously there are individual circumstances in which there is genuine and tremendous heroism of, hail of gunfire and rescuing fellow soldiers and things like that. But it seems to me that we marshal this word in a way that is problematic, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Okay, so Chris Hayes is basically saying that he has hesitation in using the word hero for every fallen military personnel because he worries that it glorifies war in and of itself. This is not a particularly new concept or new thought. It may be we never hear anyone on television, on cable news, or any news program for that matter, say anything like that. But when you hear military personnel or vets who describe the reasons why they signed up for the military, so much of it has to do with this notion of I wanted to be a hero. So much of it has to do with the notion of just for how many years in this country, every type of media outlet that talked about war glorified it. And in many respects still does. And I think this is a fairly thoughtful and measured, certainly beginning of the segment. I mean, he goes on to say specifically that I don't want to desecrate or disrespect the memory of anyone that's fallen. And then after some discussion, later he says, the argument on the other side is we don't have a draft. This is voluntary. This is someone who's making a decision to take on a certain risk of that. And they're taking it on because they're bound to all of us through this social contract, through this democratic process of self-governance in which we decide collectively that we're going to war. He's making the other argument as to why this word should be used. This is so obviously a benefit, so obviously a gift. The fact that we can have this type of level of discourse on our television, on cable news, is almost shocking in and of itself. And now we see just a tremendous outpouring on the right of anger towards Hayes. But even these morons from Newsbusters say, well, in fairness, Hayes and the other panel members distinguish between their respect for the valor of the individual military members who had given their lives with the worthiness of the various causes in which they fought. I mean, they're just so clearly going after Hayes here because they got nothing. I mean, what really should have happened is we should have seen 50 articles praising Chris Hayes for actually having an adult conversation about these things. And instead, Hayes, I guess, emailed a statement to various media outlets. Mediate is where I saw it. Saying on Sunday in discussing the uses of the word hero to describe members of the armed forces who have given their lives, I don't think I lived up to the standards of rigor, respect, and empathy for those affected by the issues we discussed that I've set myself. I am deeply sorry for that. As many have pointed out, it's easy for me, a TV host, to opine about the people who fight our wars, never having dodged a bullet or guarded a post or walked a mile in their boots. One of the points made during Sunday's show was just how removed most Americans are from the wars we fight, how small a percentage of our population is asked to shoulder the entire burden, how easy it becomes to never read the names of those who are wounded and fight and die, to not ask questions about the direction of our strategy in Afghanistan, and to assuage our own collective guilt about this disconnect with pro forma ritual that we observe briefly before returning to our barbecues. But in seeking to discuss the civilian-military divide and the social distance between those who fight and those who don't, I ended up reinforcing it, conforming to a stereotype of removed pundit whose views are not anchored in the very real and very wrenching experience of this long decade of war, and for that I am truly sorry. Look, I have, no problem with Chris Hayes apologizing if he feels that in some way he was a little flip or glib about these things. But as far as I can tell, it was the most thoughtful and measured conversation about these things that I've ever seen on television. And simply having this conversation, simply raising the idea that we use the word hero as a way of enticing people to fight wars of choice, or wars where they will carry all the burden. Because, of course, I'm sorry, we've been waging 2 wars in this country for 10 years, and I would be shocked if even 50% of Americans in this country were conscious of it more than every 6 months. That's the reality. And I can't imagine a more artful or respectful way of raising that concept. So I think I understand why Hayes apologizes, and I think that's just because he's far more sensitive in general to people than most, which I think allows him to present a story like that. But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.